What if I told you that a man stayed in financial oppression for over 20 years, not because he couldn't leave, but because of a lie he believed about his past? This is the untold story of how fear built Jacob's poverty prison, and how one decision shattered those chains forever. Setup: the great deception. Jacob had stolen his brother Esau's blessing through deception, and Esau's response was chilling. "I will kill my brother Jacob." So Jacob fled, ran for his life to his uncle Laban's house, hundreds of miles away. But here's what Jacob believed as he ran. His father Isaac was old, frail, on his deathbed. Any day now, Isaac would die. And the moment that happened, Esau would be free to hunt him down. So Jacob made a calculation, a psychological prison sentence he imposed on himself. I can never go home. Not while Esau is alive, not while the threat exists. I have no choice but to stay here with Laban, no matter what. That belief became his cage. The cost of false assumptions. What Jacob didn't know? Isaac wasn't dying, not even close. Isaac would live another 30+ years after Jacob fled. But Jacob didn't know that. He couldn't know that. So he operated on a false assumption that destroyed his financial future. And Laban? Uncle Laban saw an opportunity. Here was a skilled shepherd, a hard worker, a man with nowhere else to go, a man who couldn't leave, a man who couldn't negotiate. So Laban exploited him. Genesis 31:7 records Jacob's own words. "Your father has cheated me and changed my wages 10 times. 10 times. 10 separate occasions where Laban moved the goalposts, shifted the agreement, defrauded his own nephew. And what did Jacob do? He endured it. He absorbed it. He stayed. Why? Because psychologically, he had convinced himself he had no other option. The fear of what waited at home was greater than the oppression he faced in Laban's house. This is the poverty mindset at its core, believing you have no alternatives, that you're trapped, that abuse is better than the unknown. The psychology of financial captivity. Let's pause here because this pattern is everywhere today. How many people stay in jobs that underpay them, exploit them, disrespect them, because they've convinced themselves they have nowhere else to go? The economy is bad. I don't have enough experience. What if I fail? Better the devil you know. These are the modern versions of Jacob's reasoning. And just like Jacob, these beliefs become self-fulfilling prophecies. When you believe you have no options, you stop looking for options. You stop negotiating. You accept less. You endure more. You give your employer, your circumstances, your Laban, complete power over your financial destiny. The turning point. But then something shifted in Jacob. After 14 years of oppression, something inside him broke, or rather, broke free. He became prepared to leave for home if his conditions did not improve. Genesis 31:3 records the catalyst that eventually made him leave for home after 20 years in exile. Then the Lord said to Jacob, "Return to the land of your fathers and to your kindred, and I will be with you." But here's what's crucial. God didn't remove the threat. Esau was still there. The danger Jacob feared was still real. What changed was Jacob's willingness to face it. He reached a psychological breakthrough. Death at home facing my past is better than this slow death of exploitation with Laban. That moment, when he decided he would rather face his fear than continue in his prison, wherein Laban changed 10 times the conditions of their side hustle deal to benefit himself, everything changed. Not his circumstances, his psychology. The breakthrough. From salary to equity. Let's rewind to when Jacob made the internal decision to leave for home, should his financial position not improve, for something remarkable happened. He finally had leverage. For the first time in 14 years, Jacob could negotiate. Because now he had the nuclear option. I can walk away. So when it came time to discuss his wages again, Jacob didn't accept another salary that Laban could manipulate or withhold. Instead, he proposed something different. A performance-based deal. Essentially a profit-sharing arrangement with the flocks. Genesis 30:31-32. You shall not give me anything. If you will do this for me, I will again pasture your flock and keep it. Let me pass through all your flock today, removing from it every speckled and spotted sheep, and every black lamb, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and they shall be my wages. This wasn't a salary. This was equity, a side hustle, a business within a business. And what happened? Genesis 30:43 tells us, "Thus the man increased greatly, and had large flocks, female servants and male servants, and camels and donkeys." Jacob became wealthier than Laban. The employee surpassed the exploitative employer. Why? Because he was no longer operating from a place of fear and scarcity. He was operating from abundance and freedom. The principle: freedom precedes prosperity. Here's the biblical finance psychology principle. You cannot negotiate prosperity from a position of perceived powerlessness. As long as Jacob believed he was trapped, not by Laban, not by Esau, by his own mind. The moment he decided he was willing to leave, willing to face the very thing he feared most, he unlocked financial breakthrough. Because prosperity doesn't come from perfect circumstances. It comes from the psychology of freedom. When you know you can walk away from a bad deal, you stop accepting bad deals. When you know you have options, you start creating better options. When you're no longer afraid to face your past, your future opens up. Jacob's wealth didn't come from better skills. He had those skills all along. It didn't come from working harder. He'd been working hard for 20 years. It came from the psychological shift that said, "I am not trapped. I have choices. I will act like a free man." Application: your Laban. So let me ask you, who is your Laban? What situation has you convinced you're trapped? Is it a job that undervalues you? A business relationship that exploits you? A financial situation you think you can't escape? And more importantly, what's the Esau you're afraid to face? What past failure, what fear, what unknown is keeping you locked in place? Because here's what Jacob's story teaches us. The breakthrough doesn't come when the fear disappears. Esau was still dangerous. Isaac's death was still inevitable. The breakthrough comes when you decide that facing your fear is better than remaining in your prison. That's when negotiation becomes possible. That's when creativity unlocks. That's when wealth transfers from the exploiter to the liberated. Jacob left Laban's house wealthy not because God suddenly blessed him, but because he finally started acting like a man who had options. Closing. The poverty prison is rarely about circumstances. It's about the assumptions we make, the fears we won't face, and the alternatives we convince ourselves don't exist. Jacob spent 20 unnecessary years in financial oppression and contract violations because he believed a lie about his father's death and his brother's intentions. How many years will you spend in yours? The door to your cage has always been unlocked. You just have to be willing to face what's on the other side. If this opened your eyes to the psychology keeping you financially bound, subscribe for more biblical finance psychology breakdowns. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. What fear is keeping you in your poverty prison? Comment below.